Hi, welcome to How to Factor a Trinomial. So I'm going to walk you through a couple problems first, and then we'll do a few together. So let's look at this first problem. We have 1n squared plus 3n plus 2. Okay. What we have to do on trinomials is multiply the first and the last term. So 1 times 2 equals 2. And we're going to just take the middle term, 3. So what we're looking for to factor this is what numbers multiply to 2 and add to 3. And that's 1 and 2, right? If I multiply them, they multiply to 2. If I add them, they add to 3. So we're going to take that and redefine this middle term. Okay? So instead of putting a 3a, we're going to rename it as a 1a and a 2a. So I did that. I'm sorry, n. So instead of 3n, we're putting a 1n and a 2n. We bring down the first factor. We bring down the last factor, or term. Okay? Now we look at this in two parts. In this first part, where's there a common factor? It's a common factor of n, and so we take that common factor out, and when we do, we take an n out of here, we have an n left. When we take an n out of here, we have a 1 left. Okay? We're going to do the same thing on this second part. These have a 2 in common, so I write a positive 2. If it was a negative 2, I'd write a minus 2. And then, when I take a factor of 2 out of here, there's just an n left. When I take a factor of 2 out of here, there's just a 1 left. We can't leave that blank. Okay, 2 times n is 2n, 2 times 1 is 2. Now when we look at this, oh my goodness, every single time this is going to happen. There's a common factor of n plus 1 on both sides. So we take that common factor here, say, all right, pulled out the common factor, and what's left is n plus 2. So that becomes our second factor. If we wanted to, we could do this multiplying, and we would end up with our initial problem. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Multiply the first and the last term. They multiply to 12. Take the middle term, negative 8. We're looking for what numbers multiply to positive 12 and add to negative 8. So if it's multiplying to a positive number, we know we're either multiplying two positives or two negatives. So let's see what happens here. Factors of 12, 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. The 2 and 6 will give us the 8 if it's a negative 2 and a negative 6. A negative 2 and a negative 6 multiply to positive 12, and a negative 2 and a negative 6 add to negative 8. So we've got the right numbers. So again, we just redefine this middle term. Instead of negative 8x, we call it a negative 2x and a negative 6x. We split this in two. This first part has a common factor of x, and the second factor is x minus 2. Second part here has a common factor of negative 6. So we make sure we write the negative time. And then negative 6 times x, negative 6 times negative 2 is 12. And again, same thing happens. We end up with a common factor, so we write that once. Whatever is left over becomes our second factor. Okay, let's try another one. So, multiply 1 times 20. So we're looking for what multiplies to 20 and what adds to negative 12. So what are the factors of 20? 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. And we need a combination that adds to a negative 12. Well, that would be a negative 2 and a negative 10. So we need to check. We know that adds to negative 12. Does it also multiply to positive 20? And it does. So those are our two numbers we're looking for. Bring down the first term. We redefine the middle with our negative 8 and, negative 2 and negative 10. So negative 2x, negative 10x, and bring down this last one. Again, we split this in two. Common factor here is an x. Second factor is an x minus 2. Common factor here is a negative 10. Second factor is an x plus 2. I'm sorry, x minus 2, because negative 10 times negative 2 is positive 20. And oh look, we end up with a common factor every time. And whatever is left over is our second term. Okay, let's look at a couple other problems. So let's look here. Now we have to multiply a 4 times 15. So that's 60. So we're looking for what numbers multiply to 60 and add to a positive 17. So let's list the factors of 60. 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20. We could keep going, but I feel like this 3 and 20 can give us the 17 we need, right? We need a positive 17. So if we do a positive 3 and a positive 20, that, oops, my bad. 4 times negative 15 is negative 60. So we need these to add to a negative, multiply to a negative 60, and add to a positive 17. So that'll be a positive 20 and a negative 3, right? That gives us, when we add it, a positive 17, and we multiply it a negative 20. So we're going to redefine this middle term. First one stays the same. Next one becomes a 3x and a negative 3x and a positive 20x, and we bring down the last term. Split this in two. 4x squared and a minus 3x have an x in common. When we take a factor of x out of here, we have a 4x and a minus 3. If we look at 20x and a negative 15, they have a 5 in common. When we take a factor of 5 out of 20, we're left with a 4x. And we take a 5 out of here, we're left with a negative 3 factor. And same thing happens every time. Common factor, 4x minus 3. The second factor is the leftovers, x plus 5. Okay, let's do one more problem. When we multiply 4 times 20 is 80. Take the middle term is a negative 21. So we're looking for what multiplies to 80 and adds to a negative 21. All right, let's go. Factors of 80. 1 and 80, 2 and 40, 3, no, 4 and 20, 5 and something, 5 and 16, 6, 7, 8, and 10. Do I have them all? I need to check this one. That's right. 8 and 10. So which of these add to combine to a negative 21? Again. And I don't think any of these, oh wait, here we go. This could give us a 21, right? Negative 21. If we had a negative 5 and a negative 16, they would add to negative 21 and they would multiply to positive 80. So that's where we're going. We have 4x squared minus 5 and minus 16. So minus 5x, a minus 16x, bring down the 20. Split this in half. This first part has an x in common, so we get 4x minus 5. This has a 4 in common. It's a minus here, so it's a minus here. And 4 times 4 would give us 16. When we take a factor of 4 out of here, we have a 5. Oops. Right, -4 times -5 is positive 20. Same thing happens every time. We have a common factor. And what's left over is the second factor. Okay. If you have any questions, email me. We can set up a time to talk. All right. Good luck with this. Take care.